name. I can't because it doesn't exist. It only exists in the context of this function. So I'm not actually ever changing this value here. I'm only using its original value inside of here, which doesn't really matter for this function. It's not what we're looking for because it ends up replacing that value. So it's not like we're using it. We might as well just not pass this and then print, which is what we were doing originally. What we want to do is change the value of the global variable to reflect this. So what I'm doing is trying to pass by reference. So we do want to pass self, or hold on, we'll see right now. So try to modify with the list pass method, blah blah blah. Okay. This is a little more complex than I was trying to get into. So I'm going to show you a simpler way to do this. Let's ignore Google in this instance. An easier thing I can do is use what's called return. Return does just that. It returns a value back to whatever, to the program. So in this case, this function executes everything, and then the information is gone. It's only used inside of that function. It's not ever saving this value. So if I return, though, if I return yn name, you'll notice if I run this again, it's not going to do anything. Ray. Okay. And it's actually, well, the interpreter actually prints out the return value, but it's not actually being used in the program anywhere. I still can't print yn name. Doesn't do anything. And if I print name, it's still blank. But what I can do is in my program set it to, instead of name equals this, and here I can't remember if Python will do this, but let's try it. Yn, let's set yn equal to the return value of name. And I don't need to pass anything to it actually. Okay. Right, so what I'm doing here is I'm setting a variable equal to a function. It's kind of interesting. How does this work? So I'm not actually setting, that doesn't mean that name equals all of this. What it means is that whatever this value is that it ends up returning, so in other words, this variable, when it returns it, after it's already changed it, that's what name is going to be set to. So for example, we'll do this again. So we go, let me run the code. Okay. Whoops, your name is not defined. Okay, yeah. I'm going to set this equal to blank. You have to define the function first and then run it, which is fine. So we'll set, whoops. So notice here we're outside of the block because it's not indented. So here I'm going to set name equal to your name and see what happens. So, okay, so actually let me go over one point real quick. When you do this, so you're running the code, when you're trying to, I don't have to type in your name manually because here I'm calling it from inside the code. So I'm saying run this. Before I wasn't ever calling the function, here I'm calling it to name this variable. So that automatically calls the function for me, right? Oops. No, it's not doing it, so I look like a total asshole. That's odd. Oh, yeah, there's an error, that's why. Okay, hold on. Let me make sure there's no... Okay, so let me run it again. Alright, there was an error. Something was going on. Alright, so your name equals, again, we'll call Ray. Cool. Hello, Ray. It called it. If I try to print yn name, it's not going to work. Can't access a variable that's inside a function that you're not currently running. That's okay, but it returned the value back to name. So if I go to print name, now it's Ray. Because the name was set to the output of this function. So this function output returned yn, which I had set here to whatever I typed in this case Ray. And now name is saved to that. So that's a way to return values back through functions. In classes it's a little bit differently when you want to pass variables globally, but we're not going to go over classes just yet. So for now we learned how to set up variables, what kind of variables there are. We learned the print function, and we learned how to define our own functions and what they do. We use the raw input function here, which takes input from the user and saves it into a variable. We learned how to return that value, and we learned how to use casting implicitly, explicitly. I think that's all we covered. So this was a basic intro into programming in Python, or scripting in Python. If you were lost at any point, and I'm sure you were with that confusion in the middle, leave us a comment, write us back, check out the website, thegamedevhub.com, and let us know what you thought of the video.